There is an image that many people have seen and that very few can get out of their heads. It is not violent. It shows nothing explicit. It looks at first glance almost ordinary. A young man in an airport, a backpack over his shoulder, walking toward a departure gate. But something in that image does not fit. The man looks back, he stops, he looks back again, and then he runs. He runs with an urgency that belongs to no visible context. Nobody is chasing him. There is no alarm. Just that man, that gate, and that sprint that carried him out of the building and apparently out of the known world. That is all that exists of Lars Mittank after July 8, 2014. Lars was 28 years old when he disappeared. He was born in Germany, in the city of Wilhelmshaven, a coastal town in the northern part of the country. By all accounts from people who knew him, he was a young man with no known psychiatric history, no record of substance abuse, no legal troubles. He had a job, he had friends, and from the outside, his life showed no warning signs. In the summer of 2014, he traveled to Bulgaria with a group of friends. The destination was Golden Sands, a resort complex a few kilometers from Varna on the Black Sea coast. It is a place frequented mainly by tourists from Northern and Eastern Europe, known for its nightlife and its beaches, an ordinary vacation spot. What is known about those days is incomplete. The group arrived, enjoyed the trip, and at some point near the end of the vacation, Lars got into an incident. According to reports, he was attacked by a group of men outside a bar. The full context of that fight is not entirely clear. What is documented is the physical consequence. Lars suffered a ruptured eardrum, an injury that, on its own, prevented him from flying back to Germany with his friends, since the pressure changes during a flight can worsen that kind of injury. His friends went home without him. Lars stayed behind in Bulgaria, advised to wait until his ear healed before attempting the return flight. What happened during the days that followed is where the story becomes much harder to reconstruct. Lars was staying at a hotel near the Varna airport. Before his friends left, or shortly after, he began sending messages to his mother. The content of those messages is what later drew the attention of everyone who looked into the case. In one of them, Lars told her he felt like he was being followed, that he did not feel safe. He asked her to cancel his credit card. He told her not to trust the doctor who had treated him. There is no way to know from the outside whether those messages reflected a real perceived threat or whether they were a sign of something happening inside his own mind. Both possibilities were later considered, but in that moment for his mother, they were alarming messages from her son in a foreign country. On July 8, 2014, Lars went to the Varna airport. It is not entirely clear whether he had a flight booked for that day or whether he went there for another reason. What is known is that he entered the building and at some point visited the medical clinic operating inside the airport. According to the staff who attended him, Lars behaved unusually during that visit. He was agitated. He appeared frightened. He spoke about people who wanted to harm him. The doctor tried to calm him down but could not. And then came what the security cameras recorded. The footage shows Lars inside the terminal carrying his backpack, moving through the corridors. At one point he looks back, then he breaks into a run. Not a brisk walk, not a hurried pace, a full run. He reaches one of the exits, jumps over a low barrier at the entrance to the terminal and disappears outside, moving toward an open field beside the road. Nobody present at that moment reported seeing anything that would have explained that reaction. There was no visible pursuit, no prior confrontation. Just that sudden movement, that run, and then nothing. Lars Mittank was never seen again. Left behind inside the airport were all of his belongings, his passport, his money, his phone, everything he would have needed to survive or to find his way home. The investigation that followed was extensive, at least in terms of how widely it spread. The security camera footage went viral online, first in forums dedicated to unsolved cases, then in media outlets across multiple countries. Lars's family cooperated actively with search efforts and allowed the video to be circulated, hoping someone would recognize him or come forward with information. Bulgarian authorities searched the area surrounding the airport and found no trace of him. Investigations in Germany gathered information about his medical history and his personal life without turning up anything that explained what had happened. Over time, the case faded from the news cycle, though it was never formally closed. The theories that circulate are worth naming for what they are: speculation, not conclusions. One of the most discussed possibilities was an acute psychotic episode. Depending on its nature and severity, an inner ear injury can in rare cases affect balance, cause severe vertigo, and in extreme situations contribute to states of disorientation. Some specialists consulted by German media noted that an infection spreading beyond the eardrum could, in theory, lead to neurological complications. However, there is no official diagnosis or sufficient medical documentation to support this as a definitive explanation. Others raised the possibility that Lars had consumed some kind of substance, voluntarily or not, that altered his perception of reality. This theory also lacks concrete documentary support. A third line of thinking suggests that Lars may have been facing a genuine threat and that his flight was a rational response to a situation the cameras simply did not capture. This possibility has not been ruled out, but there is no evidence to support it either. And there is, of course, the possibility that Lars simply chose to disappear, that his emotional state, for reasons we do not know, led him to walk away from everything. This hypothesis is part of the picture as well, but nothing confirms it and nothing rules it out. What is known with certainty is very little, and that, in part, is what keeps this case open. As of the date this episode is released, Lars Mittank has been missing for more than 10 years. There has been no verified contact with his family. There have been no confirmed sightings. There has been no resolution. His mother, Renate Mittank, continued searching for him for years and maintained her hope publicly. In interviews she gave later, she said she did not believe her son was dead, but that she also could not explain what had happened to him. The video exists. It is verifiable, available through multiple sources, and was authenticated by Bulgarian authorities. It lasts only a few seconds and shows exactly what has been described: a man running without any apparent cause and then vanishing. What does not exist is an explanation. There is no narrative that connects all the points in any satisfying way, no final fact that closes the story. And that absence is precisely what keeps this case alive. Not because it is the most dramatic or the most violent of unsolved cases, but because it raises a simple and unanswered question: what did Lars Mittank see in that airport, or what did he believe he saw, that made him leave everything behind and run toward nowhere? That question remains unanswered.